And then the last one are called imperfect fungus, and these are all kind of the remaining ones. They all get clumped in here because scientists have trouble figuring out how they reproduce, and I guess they don't really seem to reproduce sexually. And so this one looks like a slime mold, more like a protist than a fungus, really slimy looking. And this one kind of looks like big Q-tips or something. And actually, penicillin is not a mold, which a lot of people think, oh, there's mold growing on this orange, but it's actually an imperfect fungus by definition. And we're going to talk about penicillin here in a bit. All right, we're going to wrap it up with ecology, not a lot on fungus. So fungus are incredibly important. They are the world's best decomposers and recyclers. And so without them, most of the large forests would probably cease to exist, and which we'll talk about here in a couple more slides. So the earth needs decomposers in our soil and fungus, and that's part of why we need to protect soil. They can also be not helpful and be parasitic diseases, like athlete's foot. If you've ever had athlete's foot, it is a fungus that is decomposing your skin. And same with this. This is ringworm. And, I guess they thought it was a worm under the skin, and then they figured out it is a fungus that is decomposing skin. We have some weird ones that actually attack different insects. And they actually use this in a video game where they said the zombies came from this fungus. So what they'll do is the ants will eat their spores, and then the fungus starts to grow inside them. And what it does is it actually changes the behavior of the ant. I've seen this in videos. So then the ant starts to do things that benefit the fungus. And one of the things they'll do is, and so they stop doing, this is why the video game used these weird fungus to create human zombies, because it kind of zombifies the ants. And so they'll climb up high on plants, which actually helps. So when this fruiting body comes out, it helps to release the spores from a high distance, which then can spread farther. And ants are so smart that if one of these is infected and just looks normal, they can sense that it's infected, and they'll kill it and drag it far, far away from the anthill or whatever, or ant colony. So because if it breaks out in the anthill, it can wipe them all out. And so ants have evolved to figure this out and kill those ones and drag them far away so the anthill can be safe. And here's some other ones. I guess they're called cordyceps fungus, and that's what, again, they used in the video game The Last of Us, which is actually one of the most famous video games ever. And each cordyceps species attacks a specific species of insects. So this is a different species of cordyceps attacking this grasshopper, and you can see all the stuff coming out of it. This type of cordyceps is attacking a moth. This type is attacking maybe a wasp or something, it looks like, and just kind of weird. All right, they are also an important part of food webs. I'm guessing almost everyone in class has eaten a mushroom at some point in time, even if it was just on pizza or something. Also, a lot of animals are going to eat mushrooms and other funguses. But strangely, they can actually kind of function as carnivores as well, in the sense that this one has actually evolved to trap worms and then decompose them. So what they do is they make these little hoops or lassos, and as the worm goes through them, the fungus senses it, inflates itself and tightens up, and then the worm can't escape, and then it starts to decompose it. So not really like a predator in the sense that it's not hunting, but more like a trap, and it's kind of like a carnivore in that way. And this worm is extra in trouble because it actually went through 2 of these little hoops or lassos. And our primary antibiotics are all types of fungus, another reason why we need fungus. And one of the most famous is penicillin, and this is the penicillin growing right here. And what we see over here is what's called a smear of bacteria. So it's kind of smeared. And what we see is there is no bacteria around the penicillin because it's been decomposed. And I'm going to tell you the story now of the discovery of penicillin, which was slightly on accident and really changed the world and the world we live in today. So it wasn't totally on accident. The scientist is Alexander Fleming. This is absolutely one of the biggest discoveries, and I guess some people might consider it the greatest discovery of all time, because without antibiotics, we would be dying from basic diseases a lot more than we are, like way more. And So, in that regards, might be the biggest discovery ever. And he was trying to kill bacteria, but he wasn't using fungus. And he was trying maybe different chemicals. I don't know the whole history, but he was trying different things. They realized that bacteria were causing diseases and wanted to figure out a way to kill them. And so again, he might have been trying different chemicals and other types of materials. And as the story goes, he probably had a lab like in his house somewhere or in his, part of his property, and he was eating a sandwich that had penicillin growing on it. And somebody came to see him and wanted to talk to him about something. And right before that happened, a little piece of the sandwich fell into the dish, kind of like this, that had the penicillin on it. So then he goes and he talks to this person, and I don't know how long it was, but it was enough time for by the time he came back, imagine this is a piece of bread right here. He saw that around the bread, the bacteria was gone. And he was like, what is this? Like, what happened? What's going on? And then he starts dissecting and analyzing the bread, and he discovered penicillin. And so he was trying to figure out how to kill bacteria, but the discovery of penicillin itself was basically totally on accident. And there's so many things that could have happened differently that would have altered the course of human history, like he hadn't been eating the sandwich at all, or there hadn't been penicillin on the sandwich, or the piece hadn't fallen right into his dish, or this person hadn't showed up when they did. Maybe he would have just plucked it right out of the dish, right? But since this person showed up, he wasn't paying attention and it had enough time. Or if their conversation had been shorter, maybe it wouldn't have been enough time to have this reaction. So all these different things played out, leading to the discovery of penicillin. And antibiotics like penicillin are the main reason why we have such a large human population today. And maybe some of you have survived diseases like pneumonia, and you've had strep throat and other things like that, and you absolutely have to take antibiotics like penicillin, and you can heal from it. And until Fleming made this discovery, that was not an option. And people were dying from sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea and syphilis, from throat, strep throat, pneumonia, other stuff that we can now kill with these antibiotics. So obviously a major discovery in the history of science. And then we have some really important mutualism. And this is arguably the most important mutualism on Earth. It's called mycorrhizae. So myco means fungus, and rhizae kind of means like roots. And so this is a unified relationship between plant roots and fungus where they exchange nutrients. And it is believed that maybe about 90% of all plants have this relationship. And this is why plants have been so successful, and possibly the only reason why forests, like big forests, even exist. And so in that regard, this is possibly the most important relationship between two organisms on Earth, maybe even more important than pollination between insects and flowers. Those would be the top two for sure. And so what we see here is the mycelium of the fungus going into the root, and we see it over here too. So what happens is the plants share carbohydrates with the fungus, because they're making that through photosynthesis, and then the fungus is getting nutrients from the soil and just pumping it right into the roots of the plants. And again, without this relationship, we may have no forests and many, many less plants in the world. And so this is incredibly important, and part of why we need to protect the health of soil from chemical pollution and stuff like that, because in the soil are the fungus that are helping the plants grow. All right, last one. Another thing that's pretty cool form of technology is called mycofiltration, or sometimes called, as you see here on this book, mycoremediation. But I like to use this word because it's a little more basic. So it means like filtering through fungus. And this is a cool technology that is pretty new, where we get the filtering and purifying of pollution through fungus mycelium barriers. And so there's one scientist in particular who I've taught about for a long time. His name's Paul Stamets, and he's like the leading expert on this. And basically what he does is he tries to find all these different fungus and figure out how they can clean pollution. And he started isolating different species that can clean different pollution really effectively. And you can even see they're using it in the Amazon. So in the Amazon, they're destroying rainforests all the time, basically constantly. It's like hundreds of acres a day or something are being destroyed. And in that, there's a lot of pollution coming from the trucks and stuff, and there's all this oil around, and that's what's being indicated here, is that they're trying, here you can see they're calling it myco renewal, so there's like 3 different terms for this, but they're trying to use the fungus to destroy these oils and things that are left behind by the trucks out there in the Amazon. So this is really an amazing form of biological technology, hopefully just going to continue to grow, and hopefully this scientist's work is going to be a way that we can clean pollution and heal ecosystems. Here they made some kind of border, so I'm kind of guessing maybe there's a farm or something nearby that's using a lot of chemicals, and they're trying to create a border so that the chemicals can't cross it. And in these big bags are lots of these fungus that will destroy whatever pollution it is they're trying to block off. All right, and here we see some Mario pictures. So that's it for fungus. We just finished protists and fungus. All we have left for the rest of the year is plants and 2 weeks of animals. So we're almost there. Hope you guys are doing well. Keep practicing social distance. Help out at home. Be a good role model for your younger siblings and cousins. And hopefully the quarantine will end soon. And hope you guys are all doing well.